Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me? My name, as I've been introduced, is Zoe Cuthbert. I am a senior manager at Expo City Dubai, which is the host city of COP28 UAE, and I'm joined with Francesco Sindaco, a professor at the University of Strathclyde, and also co-chair of IUCN, the World Commission on Environmental Law. Now, before we begin, I would like to start this session with sharing a short video that will give a little bit of a broader overview about what we're going to speak about. So if we could just ask the organizers to begin by playing the video.
Welcome to the first Island Water Congress, an innovative event co-produced with different island hosts every time. This time, the Faroe Islands will be the host island.
In this edition, we will explore freshwater from an island context, and we will do it through the lens of administration, collaboration, and innovation, the three themes of the Congress.
Within this wider context, each edition tackles a pressing island-related specific issue of global relevance. In 2024, we will look at freshwater regulation.
What really sets this Congress apart is that experts and participants will join forces to develop practical solutions to concrete freshwater challenges.
This impact-oriented journey of learning and collaboration isn't limited to islands. It enriches freshwater opportunities for everybody, wherever you are.
So please join us for an extraordinary gathering where we unite to address freshwater challenges within the context of diverse islands throughout the world.
Save the date in your calendars and join a new global community that will advance practical solutions to island water-related challenges.
So hopefully that gives everyone a bit of a broader overview about what we're going to talk about. But Francesco, can you just tell us a little bit more about what the conference, or the Congress rather, will address, and what your kind of key aims, vision statements, the outcomes that you would like from this?
Yes, thank you, and great to see all of you again. Thanks for the organizers for inviting me again and for showing the video. I want to make one thing very, very clear. This will not be a one-off academic congress where a lot of researchers like myself go share their thoughts, write a paper, go home, nothing happens. This wants, as you have just heard, wants to be impactful. And the way we're doing this is that this will happen every 2 years. This is the first edition. Every year, we will work with the host island nation, in this case, the Faroe Islands Geological Survey, but also the government, the business, and civil society, to identify a specific challenge that is present on that island, but is also relevant and applicable to many other islands around the world. And through the Congress, we will leverage information to not solve that problem, I'm not that naive, but leverage information that will be used by that host island nation to engage in order to deal with that problem. So that's really the vision, and that's what we want to do.
So you talk about non-traditional academic congress. My background is to do a lot with different programming, bringing stakeholders together, getting them to come up with not only ideas, but as you say, how we can bring these ideas forward. What kind of programming and conversations and curation of agendas do you want to see from this Congress over the packed 3 days that they've just mentioned?
The key point is the packed 3 days. I feel that if you do something only in the 3 days, you're not doing the right thing. So what I want to do is create a journey that has already started, to be honest, but will start very much when the participants are identified through the call for papers and so forth, which is open until the 15th of February. We'll run a series of events between then and the 3 days so that when you arrive in the Faroe Islands, you will almost know each other already. And then there's also an activity after, a follow-up. Again, moving to the impact. The Faroe Island stakeholders have identified freshwater regulation as the issue they want to deal with. It wasn't just one person in the room. There were stakeholder groups in the Faroe Islands what we're going to do, together with participants at the Congress, is develop a policy report that will be presented to the Faroe Islands. Often what happens with these policy reports is that the user doesn't even know it's coming. So he looks at it, it may be flashy, and throws it away. This Congress will be different because we are co-producing that report. We are working together with the users, hence they will read it and they will work with us in order to make that change when it comes to freshwater management.
So what I'm hearing is that you're bringing together a kind of broad church of stakeholders that you want to get partnerships from. You want to have people that are going to read it and not put it to one side. It's going to be more than a photo moment. But tell me a little bit more about why the Faroe Islands, because from this video we can see that there's clearly ample water, and you talk about regulations. So if you could just go into a little bit more information about these challenges and this location.
So yeah, it couldn't be different from Dubai, as you saw. It's another part of the world. It's an archipelago of 18 islands. 55,000 people live there. It's between Scotland and Iceland, very, very north of Europe. It rains a lot, but it's not raining as much as it did. Until now, most of the fresh water that they use, be it for human purposes, agriculture, industry, was surface water. But, and this resonates even with Scotland and other parts of the world, in the summer they may not have water scarcity, but clearly they have a different weather pattern. And they're starting to look at other sources, for example, groundwater. But the laws, the regulation, and the policies have been geared to surface water and not to groundwater. So there's not this conjunctive use that they would like to see. Also, water has been embedded in many ministries and many departments and many sectors of society, and sometimes these are disconnected. They don't talk to each other. Hence, the interest from the Faroese stakeholders to have a more holistic approach where you look at the various water users, but also their policies together.
So you're trying to bring in people that not only use the water, but how they regulate it and how they can learn best practices from not only stakeholders within the Faroe Islands, but other island communities from around the world.
Correct. So yes, it's in the Faroe Islands, but I want to make this very clear to those in the room and to those online. This will be a global Congress. It's relevant for all the people that talked before, for example, from the overseas territories in the Caribbean, the sovereign island nations in the Caribbean, or the South Pacific, Indian Ocean, other islands in Europe. I've been working, and you'll hear it later, even in government, with islands. Every island is unique, even within the 18 islands of the Faroe Islands. So nobody is saying that what will work in the Comoros Islands should work in the Faroe Islands. Nobody is that naive. But what it is important is to bring those stories to the Faroe Islands, to learn from insights that may be sparking interest from a regulatory perspective. And at the same time, those islands who have done, according to their own indicators or their own people, a good job when it comes to freshwater regulation, but also wider freshwater matters, to showcase that together with partners, donors, civil society, and other organizations.
So just to kind of switch gears a little bit as we talk about the Congress, but what we want to discuss more broadly during this Congress, can you talk a little bit about the importance of the relationship between water, data, that nexus, and how that will be covered not only during the 4th or the 6th of September, but in the lead up as well, because you mentioned that you're bringing lots of different partners together, but how do you plan to bring these complicated concepts into a regulation framework?
I think this goes way beyond just freshwater management. So there's an aspect which is mainly common sense. You can only manage something if you know what it is. And to know what something is, you need data, you need information. The problem, and we were talking about this yesterday, is that when we are talking about climate crisis, I use the vocabulary and the language that was mentioned in the previous session, not climate change, but climate crisis, you need to act urgently, fast. Good data doesn't come fast. That's a problem with data. If you really want reliable data, you need time. The question hence becomes, be it with water management in the context of a climate crisis, carbon audits in the context of a climate crisis, do you have the luxury of time? The answer is no. So, long story short, be it the water management side, be it this Congress, be it carbon neutrality within an island setting or others, we need to act as fast as possible. I mentioned it yesterday, something along the lines of good enough data for fast and just policy. It doesn't sound very good, but it's actually what we need to do.
So I'm very conscious of the time, but I just want you to touch on a little bit more, if you can, about how we deliver net zero in a complicated island setting, because you mentioned that no island is the same. They all have unique challenges and opportunities, but more broadly, how do you think that these different questions will be tackled, not only for the Congress, but also within your work as well? How do you think that net zero will be complete and be able to happen in an island setting? If you can give us a couple of 3 broad brushstrokes.
3 broad, and then in an hour we're going to be joined by other colleagues from the European Commission. I will put my Scottish Government hat and you'll hear more about that. I know it's a mantra saying no island is unique, but it is true. So it's difficult to do things. But there are 2 or 3 things that are transformational. And some things are more known than others. Now, we're talking about water here, we talked about food before. Obviously, all these nexuses are important, and actually, when you start looking at the weight of emissions of the water sector, the food sector, they all start becoming relevant. The challenge is that if we start digging in, almost everything has an emission, almost everything could have a COP day, and then where do we go with this? We have a month-long COP, not too sure that's a good idea. But I do think that transport-related emissions, that's really what defines an island at the end, the geographical nature of an island.
Exactly.
How do you get there, be it ferry, be it planes, on the island itself, but really the getting there. Again, talking from a Scottish experience, really the ferries are absolutely incredible. If you crack that, you're not halfway down, but definitely. Energy, again, clearly it's an almost impossible dilemma to solve, but it is something that is very important. I can go on, housing and so forth. The one point, and this brings back to my expertise, to the work I do, the technology is already there. Do I understand it completely? No, but it's already there. Call it whether you believe in hydrogen, whether you believe in whatever, it's there. What is not there often is 2 things. And one was mentioned before, is the awareness and the public participation. And 2, the one that we work more closely, is the regulation. You can have all the technology you want, but if you don't have the regulation that actually allows the finance to flow, the people to use it, and the consumers to benefit from it, you just have flashy technology.
So the 3 things that I think that we should all take away from this very short fireside chat with you, Francesco, is innovation, public participation, but also building networks so that the regulation, whether it be in one scenario to another, so that the regulation can be better understood, implemented, and acted upon.
Yes, and the last thing is any gathering, because we're in a climate crisis, cannot just be a sharing of stories. There's a space for that, but we also need impact and action. We don't have more time to lose. I'll stop with that.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. We're out of time now, but we will take questions at the end. Thank you.